Welcome back to my channel, everyone! Alright, without further ado, let us dive straight into the recap of Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy, Part 60. Alright guys, in the previous part, the main focus was on the Moon Grizzly, which unexpectedly ended up getting dragged into the battlefield because of a rather complicated situation. At the same time, there was also an important collaboration between Makoto, Toa's party, Birgit's party, and Beretta to complete a request from the Mist Town, while also revealing new possibilities for monster tamers. So in this part, the story will focus on the development of unique jobs, double jobs, and the potential of monster tamers, which is starting to become an important topic once again. At the same time, there will also be an important meeting involving Makoto, Root, Dio, and Haku. Now, let us continue to part 60. The story begins with Haku walking around the nation of Tsige. If you have forgotten, Haku is one of the origin adventurers who moved to Tsige after following Makoto. While Haku is casually walking through the city, she suddenly senses a strange presence. Curious about it, Haku follows the direction of that presence until she eventually sees Eris stopping someone who carries a suspicious aura. That person is Dio. If you have forgotten, Dio is the homunculus who was once captured by the church and was later healed by Makoto and Shiki at the request of Shima, one of the high-ranking members of the Rotsgard Church. Here, Dio begins explaining his situation. He tells them that the reason he seems suspicious is because he originally comes from the nation of Aeon. Because of that, Dio feels slightly nervous about entering the nation of Tsige, which only recently gained its independence from Aeon. On top of that, Dio is also dealing with some family problems, and right now he is planning to visit the Adventurers Guild. But that is not his only problem. Dio is also struggling to find a place to stay and somewhere he can get affordable food. Seeing Dio's situation, Haku decides to guide him around and help him. Once they arrive at the Adventurers Guild, Haku begins explaining various things about Tsige, including inns, restaurants, and other important information that Dio might need. When night arrives, Haku returns to her work as a dancer. But even while she is working, Haku cannot stop thinking about Dio. She feels that something might happen because the aura she sensed coming from Dio was the aura of death. While thinking about this, Haku is also talking with someone from the bronze company named Bronzeman. They begin discussing one of Bronzeman's company products, a magical bag that functions similarly to an inventory. But without realizing it, Haku accidentally mentions the ability of one of her old friends, an inventory skill. Her words immediately cause the atmosphere between them to become completely silent. Eventually, Bronzeman tries to break the awkward silence by asking Haku what she meant by what she just said. But Haku chooses to avoid the question, and instead asks Bronzeman something in return, pretending that she does not even realize what she has just revealed. The reason Haku accidentally let that information slip is because her mind is still completely focused on Dio. Because of that, she begins to feel that she should report the situation involving Dio to Makoto. The next day, Bronzeman heads into the desert to search for several materials. He does not go there alone, because Haku and several other adventurers also accompany him at the request of the Adventurers Guild. In the middle of their journey, they suddenly run into Birgit's party. Naturally, Birgit's party is quite surprised to see Bronzeman personally entering the desert. After all, it is quite unusual for the owner of a well-known company to personally travel into such a dangerous area. As they begin talking, Bronzeman, Haku, and the other adventurers are immediately shocked when they see the Moon Grizzly. But what surprises them even more is the fact that the Moon Grizzly can actually speak using human language. Because of that, Haku starts asking whether Birgit's party has ever met Asnoval. From there, Haku briefly suspects that the bear might have been given to them by Asnoval. But Birgit's party explains that the Moon Grizzly was actually given to them by the Mist Town. They were asked to take care of the bear, and this became one of the terms of the contract between Birgit's party and the Mist Town. As Haku, Bronzeman, and Birgit's party continue talking, Beretta becomes interested in the Tamer Guild. Hearing that, Haku explains that the Tamer Guild no longer exists. But in the past, there was once an era when beast tamers truly flourished. Akos finds it difficult to believe that such an era ever existed. To Akos, taming abilities sound more like a hobby of becoming friends with animals, so he does not think taming is particularly useful. But Haku then explains that in the past, there was an era when high-ranking adventurers were capable of taming demonic beasts and even mythical creatures. After hearing that explanation, the abilities of tamers begin to sound like something with incredible potential. From there, their conversation moves on to the various adventurer jobs held by Birgit's party and the others. When Haku learns that Beretta's job is Beast Cruiser, she immediately tells Beretta that he should continue developing his job. If he does, Beretta might eventually obtain a special job that would allow him to participate directly in battle. According to Haku, a whip might even be the perfect weapon for Beretta. At this point, Beretta asks what he should do with Tiara in order to bring out his true power. But Haku is actually shocked when she learns that the male bear was given the name Tiara. Tiara himself even starts complaining about his master's terrible naming sense, since Beretta gave him a name like that, despite the fact that he is male. Tiara also explains that he currently has a job given to him by his boss, Makoto. After hearing all of this, Haku starts wondering whether Makoto is actually planning to establish a tamer guild. Judging by Makoto's actions so far, Haku feels as if Makoto has been preparing for something like that, and Beretta might become the trigger that sets everything in motion. Because of that thought, Haku, who originally did not want to get involved, ends up helping Birgit's party capture several demonic beasts from the Mist Town. Not long after, 2 crab monsters appear. Seeing them, Haku immediately makes her move. She wants to prove to the young adventurers there that every ability an adventurer possesses can actually be extremely useful. Haku emphasizes that no matter what kind of ability someone has, as long as it is trained properly, that ability can become a powerful weapon. Here, Haku demonstrates her incredible skill with a whip. She also explains that a whip can be an extremely useful weapon when used correctly. Many people might consider a whip to be a rather useless weapon, but in Haku's hands, it looks incredibly powerful. Long story short, Haku successfully takes down both crab monsters. In this situation, Haku clearly ends up being the person who contributes the most. Meanwhile, Bronzeman, the other adventurers, and even Birgit's party themselves seem to struggle quite a bit with the situation. When night arrives, Tiara is still amazed by Haku's fighting ability. To Tiara, Haku's strength is far beyond his own. Tiara also feels that Haku gives off the aura of a tamer, to the point that he even thinks he might actually be very happy if Haku were the one to tame him. At that moment, Tiara is secretly following Haku, who has suddenly separated from the group while everyone else is resting. From a distance, Tiara sees Haku talking to a giant white snake. Tiara assumes that the white snake must be a creature that Haku has already tamed. He also immediately realizes that the white snake is definitely far stronger than he is. Seeing how close Haku and the white snake are, almost like friends, Tiara begins wondering whether he can also have that kind of relationship someday. For some reason, that thought makes Tiara feel excited. He becomes determined to make Beretta improve his abilities, and most importantly, he also wants Beretta to change Tiara's name. Basically, Tiara wants to become stronger, and because of that, Beretta also needs to become stronger. The next day, Birgit's party is still dealing with the demonic beasts from Asura. This time, they continue their work with Haku's help and guidance, since Haku herself has started to feel that she wants to help Makoto. During the process, Bronzeman, who is also traveling with them, experiences some growth of his own. He manages to level up, and even obtains a unique job related to storage. This becomes the first time in the world of Tsukimichi that a businessman like Bronzeman has managed to reach a level comparable to the adventurers of Tsuge. Keep in mind that the adventurers of Tsuge are already well known for having extremely high levels, so Bronzeman's achievement is definitely not something ordinary, especially since he has also managed to obtain a unique job. After that, the story shifts to Makoto, who is now extremely busy. Ever since Tsuge became an independent nation, Makoto has had to meet important people from all kinds of places almost every day. This is despite the fact that Makoto himself does not hold any official position in the nation of Tsuge. Even so, these people still come to meet him because they know that Makoto has extremely strong political influence within the city. Right now, Makoto is meeting with Root. Root asks Makoto to examine Dio's body, since this is also a request from Haku. After Makoto examines him, it turns out that there are no strange signs or abnormalities in Dio's body. In truth, the examination is not really necessary, because Makoto was the one who healed Dio in the first place. But Makoto still pretends that he does not know anything about it. He does this because he does not want anyone else to find out about his agreement with the Rotsgard Church. After that, Dio begins explaining his current situation. At this point, he has already escaped from his kingdom and abandoned his noble family name. Because of that, Dio needs to find a new job. He asks Makoto to teach him something so that he can gain a useful skill that will allow him to make a living in society. At first, Makoto intends to refuse the request, but when Root tells him that Dio's job is a unique job called Errand Novice, Makoto immediately becomes interested. The reason is simple. Makoto has never heard of a job like that before. Even Root himself, who is the founder of the Adventurers Guild, has never heard of it either. Because both of them are curious, Makoto eventually accepts Dio's request and agrees to teach him something. But immediately after that, Makoto unexpectedly obtains a new job himself. His original job does not change, but he enters a double job state, meaning he now possesses two jobs at the same time. This even shocks Root. Despite being the founder of the Adventurers Guild, Root himself actually knows nothing about double jobs. He also has no idea what conditions are required to obtain one. Because of what just happened, Makoto starts thinking about investigating several things. These include Dio's unique job, the condition of Dio's body after recovering from his homunculus state, and the actual requirements for obtaining a double job like the one Makoto now has. While thinking about all of this, Makoto starts feeling slightly uneasy. He feels as if there is a ticking time bomb somewhere around him, like some major problem could explode at any moment. Long story short, several days pass. Right now, Makoto is preparing a new store, but this store is being opened in another part of Tsige. As you might remember, Tsige has now become a large nation. Because of that, Makoto is opening a new branch in a different location, while still remaining within Tsige's territory. Even so, the store has not officially opened yet. Since it is still closed, Makoto has some time to talk with Dio and Haku. In Dio's case, the reason is obvious. Makoto wants to investigate Dio's unique job, as well as the double job that Dio has just obtained. As for Haku, she suddenly comes to Kuzunoha to meet Makoto, and Makoto allows her to come inside. Right now, Makoto, Dio, and Haku begin talking together. Makoto explains that the Errand Novice job might somehow be connected to double jobs. Hearing this, Haku looks quite surprised. She then explains that in order to reach a double job, an adventurer usually has to completely maximize the job and skills they already possess. In other words, Errand Novice is most likely a job that Dio has already managed to maximize. Makoto does not immediately understand this. Dio is still young, and he is also not particularly skilled in combat. Because of that, Makoto finds it strange that the requirement for obtaining a double job would be maximizing a job to its absolute limit. Haku then explains that Novice is the beginner job that adventurers normally have. Usually, the Novice job disappears or changes when an adventurer switches to another job. So, judging from Dio's current situation, it means that Dio never changed his original job. Instead, he continued developing and maximizing it until it eventually became Errand Novice. Haku also explains that a double job is a special reward given to adventurers who have successfully maximized both their job and its related skills. Since Dio will most likely be able to obtain an additional job, he begins thinking about what kind of job he should choose next. Makoto and Haku then continue their conversation. At this point, Haku explains that there are certain jobs that can increase extremely quickly if the person kills someone. During the variant incident in Rotsgard City, Dio once became a half-variant. At that time, there is a strong possibility that Dio killed many people. Because of that, his job might have increased rapidly until it reached its maximum level. Hearing this, Makoto is shocked to learn that a job level can rise so quickly when someone kills another human being. At the same time, Makoto also feels sorry for Dio. After all, Dio has indirectly become a killer. The problem is that during that incident, Dio had lost consciousness, meaning he killed many people without even realizing what he was doing. After that, Haku and Makoto tell Dio to report his double job to the Adventurers Guild. The reason is that Dio has still not submitted an official report confirming that he possesses a double job. After Dio leaves, Haku explains that Makoto's case and Dio's case are actually different. In Dio's case, he obtained a double job because his level increased in an unusual way until his original job completely reached its maximum limit. Makoto's case, on the other hand, most likely happened because he taught human language to demonic beasts. One example is Tiara, who was able to speak because Makoto personally taught him. This is similar to Hitsuna's case. Hitsuna's original job was priestess, but after successfully creating the Onmyoji formula in the other world, Hitsuna eventually obtained a double job. Her first job remained priestess, while her second job became Onmyoji. After hearing about Hitsuna's abilities, Makoto feels that it makes sense for her to have become the first-generation High Priestess of the nation of Laurel. If you have forgotten, Hitsuna is an origin adventurer, a member of Apple, and also the first priestess to exist in the other world. Meanwhile, Dio's case is more similar to Asnaval's. Asnaval's first job was a knight, and after that job reached its maximum limit with no further room for growth, Asnaval eventually obtained a new job, or more accurately, a double job. His second job became a controller of demonic beasts. After finishing their discussion about double jobs, Haku asks Makoto about the moon grizzly, especially about Makoto teaching it human language. From there, they also begin discussing the moon grizzly's potential. According to Haku, Makoto was too quick to entrust the moon grizzly to a tamer whose abilities were still not good enough. In other words, Beretta is currently not truly qualified to tame the moon grizzly yet. Even so, Haku says that fortunately, she was able to help Beretta. Because of that, both Beretta and the bear should now have a better chance of growing stronger together. Makoto also feels fortunate that Haku became involved in the situation. He explains that he had already searched for beast tamers, and among all the available options, Beretta was the best choice. Because of that, Makoto hopes that Beretta will be able to bring out the moon grizzly's full potential. Makoto also deliberately hired adventurers to stay by Beretta's side. His goal is to make sure Beretta does not run into serious trouble. If something does happen, the other adventurers will still be there to protect him. After hearing that explanation, Haku finally understands Makoto's reasoning. Haku then says that from now on, she will personally train Beretta. In addition to that, Haku also briefly mentions the storage skill possessed by the Quarto breed job. Hearing this immediately catches Makoto's attention, especially because he becomes very interested in the storage skill and its ability to store items. So, that is the recap of Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy, Part 60. What do you think? Pretty interesting, right? While Tsige continues developing as a new nation, the discussion about unique jobs, double jobs, and the potential of monster tamers has started opening up some very interesting new possibilities. For now, it feels like there is not much else that needs to be explained, because everything is already pointing toward even bigger developments in the next part.